Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to talk with you all today about success stories in open source. And this is worded intentionally because we're surrounded with a world full of negativity and headlines and FUD, as it's been called as well. And in our spaces too, that tends to be pretty common. We're always talking about XZ and all of the large scale issues that have come up, and rarely talk about the success stories and some of the good things happening. So I wanted to talk about that today, and especially in the spirit of this conference being about not necessarily specifically focused on code contributions, the kind of work that we've been doing with the facilitation and management and execution of security audits for open source projects is a nice overlap, and looking forward to talking with you all about that today. And yes, as Ben mentioned, I'm Amir Montazery, Managing Director of OSTIF, that is the Open Source Technology Improvement Fund. We're a small nonprofit that, again, that is our sole mission, which is improving critical open source software projects. So to kind of go over some of the main points that we'll be talking about today, first we'll talk about the security audits themselves and talk about it as a best practice and why it's so important. And then we'll take that and apply it to open source projects and the nuances that come with working with open source projects and their communities. And then in the spirit of open source, definitely want to talk about collaboration and all of the work that goes into doing these types of engagements. And again, as the title suggests, share some success stories. And lastly, because we have been doing this for quite some time and have a large body of work of security auditing that we've done for open source projects, I would love to talk about some of the benefits we've seen, recommendations for projects and communities, as well as some insight into this kind of work. So to, I guess no pun intended, dive right into it. Security audits and just the general concept of independent third-party expert review is a very common best practice and something that is both common in software development and in technology spaces, but really many spaces as well. You think of things like home inspections and due diligence, things like that, having that third-party independent expert come in to apply their expertise to a particular environment and be able to help make changes. And while finding vulnerabilities isn't the only isn't the only mission of doing these security audits, one huge benefit is that the security audits do tend to find vulnerabilities and classes of bugs that can really be cause issues. And I like to refer to this research paper titled 0 Days, Thousands of Nights, The Life and Times of Vulnerabilities and Their Exploits, which did a lot of really fantastic research on how vulnerabilities are found in software, how they're fixed and remediated, and found that especially zero-day vulnerabilities and deep-seated problems in code live a long time. They're in there. And to fix them or to address them typically requires more in-depth auditing, logic review, and source code analysis in order to go several layers deep. So I use this image of the mine as an example where, as is the goal in mining, to find valuable gems or materials, it's typically not going to happen during those first few layers that you dig down, and it's usually in those very last few that you will typically have those findings. And that's actually very common in our security audit exercises and engagements we've been doing, in that a lot of the really meets or the findings and issues that are found typically happen towards the end of the audit, once the auditors and audit team have had the opportunity to dig deep, understand the software, and look for issues. So security audits, we've seen, have really been an excellent exercise tool for open source projects to improve their security posture. So now that we've established that security audits are an important practice and tool, yeah, I know. It's definitely a wordy slide, this one. I won't be going through all of it word for word, but the point is that at Open Source Technology Improvement Fund, we took that idea of doing security audits, and through years of trial and error and really just bootstrapping this concept, have finally refined an approach to apply this best practice to open source projects. Now, not to go over all of it in detail, but the points in particular that apply very much to open source projects and their communities would be steps 1 and 2, where because we have typically different parties involved, it's not like a software project within a company where everyone works for the same company. We really need to do our diligence in understanding what the project's needs are and connecting with maintainers to, again, understand where those gaps are and how an engagement like a security audit could fill those gaps and improve the project. And then steps 8 and 9 also, doing more comprehensive tooling reviews as part of the audit has been very helpful, because it addresses the idea that security audits aren't always just a point-in-time exercise, where when we develop tooling, review and develop tooling for projects as part of these audits, we are able to improve and develop testing suites for them. And then step 9 as well. So our process is very focused on actually making improvements and fixes, not just finding problems. A very common, I would say, conception of these types of exercises are, oh, well, we already have enough bug reports that we need to deal with, or especially nowadays, anyone can run some tools and generate bug reports. It's really about getting that highest signal that we can possibly achieve, and then actually producing and testing fixes on those issues. So then we've applied, again, taken this best practice of security audit engagements, applied it to the nuances of open source and working with diverse, decentralized communities, typically with all sorts of different governance structures and lack thereof. And so we really honed this best practice to open source. So this requires a significant amount of work and collaboration, and I'm very grateful to have collaborated with a lot of different open source communities, very fantastic projects, and the maintainers who keep those projects going, as well as organizations, foundations, and security firms and researchers. And really all sorts of collaborators in the space has made this work more impactful. So I'm very grateful for it, and 2, I recognize the importance of collaboration in doing this work. And so all of our audits and the reports that are generated as a result of the audit are available for free on our website, on our GitHub. They're typically posted in a lot of different media, but we also keep a repository of all of the work that we've done, and it is, again, freely available review. And this is just a snapshot of some recent audits that have been done, just to show that this is a very diverse and deep body of work that we have put together. And going back to kind of what success looks like, or success stories, we typically, as I mentioned, are very improvement focused and holistic improvement focused. So a lot of our audit reports will also have fix verification, fix review, and fix verification, and we make a point to point that out in audit reports, that we're not just finding more issues and more work for maintainers to do. We're actually working with maintainers to fix problems and to fix issues. So this is just an example of what we would consider a successful engagement, where we were able to, among many other things, find and fix these problems and vulnerabilities. Oh, I'm going quickly. And so, yeah, and now to give a couple of more specific examples, because I thought about it and realized if we're going to talk about success stories, we should actually have some examples. So the Kia and Stork projects were audited last year, and we just recently put out the results for that. This was a result of a almost 2-year-long engagement, starting with getting to know the ISC, the Internet Systems Consortium, which funded this work, getting to know them, their points of contact, working with them to then engage the Kia and Stork communities and maintainers, to work with them to put together a request for proposal that then went out to a wide range of verified open source security experts, and as a result, we did these 2 audits for the Kia and Stork projects, which are very considered kind of backbone projects for, in some ways, the internet and how it works. So this was a really fantastic collaboration. Working with the ISC was fantastic, and being able to, again, make improvements to some really important open source software projects was a fantastic experience. Some other success stories. So the CNCF, or Cloud Native Computing Foundation, stewards a lot of different open source projects under its umbrella. And one thing that works well for them is they have pretty strong governance over their projects and how they develop and grow and mature over time. And part of that includes a maturity model or a maturity process. And security audits and getting that kind of third-party verification or review is baked into the process of moving up to reach what they call graduated status. And so CNCF has been working with us over the last, I think, 5 years now to really manage that whole program and fulfill these security audits for these projects. And so in 2025, as we have been doing over the last few years, put out impact reports that kind of summarize all of this. And I thought I would take a few out of that report to, again, share some success stories. So last year we did a number of projects. I think it was something like 12 audits for CNCF as part of this program. And again, it's very common to have findings, to find and fix vulnerabilities, but also recommend different approaches and things that can be done to further harden the project and make it more robust, as well as work on documentation, for example, threat modeling, and publishing those threat models as part of these audits. A couple more. Again, these were from 2025. Just to iterate that this isn't something that just happens to a few projects. It's something that really can be with the right resources, management and administration, scaled to at a much larger level to do a lot of audits. But we did, yes, last year we did some work on Linkerd and the Karmata project. To share a couple more success stories, OSTIF has been working with the Sovereign Tech Agency for the last few years as an implementation partner for its bug resilience program and fulfilling security engagements for, again, critical infrastructure. And so we've been doing that for the last few years, and Sovereign Tech Agency has been fantastic in funding this work and being very open to funding the work that we've been doing. And last year, as a result of this collaboration, we put out a couple of audits as well. GNU libmicro HTTPD2, which we internally labeled as Libby because we got very tired of saying all of those letters every time, but had a good amount of, did a fantastic collaboration there in which, in addition to finding and fixing vulnerabilities, custom fuzzing was developed for the project to continually test that code and keep it robust. And then with Logback, very similar experience in addition to helping them develop and publish a custom threat model, as well as look at the supply chain security as well, which is something we've been doing as a part of our process to really holistically improve these projects. These are just a couple of more that we did last year, a couple of Apache projects, Ruby. The Ruby audit in particular resulted in a very, I believe it was, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I remember the CVSS score being very high for that finding there, and we worked very closely with that community to make those fixes and improvements. So, thank you. So going into a couple of benefits and things that we've seen firsthand from experience working with these projects and doing these security audits, we found that the benefits typically come in two forms. One are the immediate benefits. So the first one being that doing this security audit, or doing a security audit in a lot of ways, is one of the first kind of security exercises that maintainers do, at least the ones that we've worked with. Had never, for example, really thought about documenting threats and risks, and really, again, just having that mindset of let's think about our project from a security perspective. Just that mentality shift, or just that thinking, we've been told countless times from maintainer survey feedback and just direct feedback that just doing that exercise really got them as maintainers and contributors to think more about security and to kind of have that mindset moving forward. As I mentioned, threat modeling and risk assessment is very important and not often documented. So the threat modeling and risk assessments provide immediate benefits. As I mentioned earlier, the finding and fixing of vulnerabilities, and going back to the security audit as a best practice, these aren't just one-off vulnerabilities typically. A lot of the improvements that are made to projects are classes of bugs that are completely eliminated as a result of the audit, which then of course prevents future problems so that that class of bug does not resurface over time. And then the audit report documenting the process, which can be a very strong indicator that a project is thinking about security, has at least done some work in security, and we have an artifact to show that. Oh, and then so talking about some of the long-term benefits, so I mentioned it a second ago, but yeah, closing classes of bugs really helps a project's security posture. Improving security tooling, so implementing SAST and fuzzing and all sorts of tooling improvements really helps a project over time. Going back to when we talked about reviewing supply chain risk, security risk, improving that can really harden a project's supply chain. And then also threat models can be a reference guide for new adopters, for new maintainers, as well as users of these software projects. So a couple recommendations. The first one really comes down to dedicating resources. So for any project, organization, or foundation looking to do this kind of work, I would recommend to dedicate resources for the administration, the project management when looking to get a security audit. This is the whole reason that OSTIF exists. I mean, we formed this nonprofit organization to do this for maintainers and projects and the funders that support those projects. But of course, we don't have to do every single audit that happens in the open source space. So for any communities looking to do this, I would definitely recommend ahead of time earmarking a good amount of resources and time to just, again, handle all of the back and forth and administration that goes into sourcing this kind of work. And the second one being to make sure you're working with security teams who really understand open source, because we've found almost night and day differences between working with researchers and audit teams who are themselves involved in the open source space. Tends to go much better than, for example, other examples we've seen of maybe more commercial engagements done by very large firms who it's not uncommon for them to essentially use their company brand to source contracts and then have to essentially not have the best expertise. So definitely make sure you're working with security teams and individuals that have the expertise in what they're auditing. And to some insight and guidance, really based on our experience, security tools can be a fantastic tool for improving posture. It's definitely not the only tool or the only thing. It's not like a one silver bullet that will solve all the problems, but it really can be a fantastic tool. And then as we found, collaborating with the maintainers and contributor communities, while that can get complicated, especially with larger projects and larger communities, typically does yield better results than just kind of doing it in silos or in isolation. Wonderful. And then, so yeah, with that, that's the end of the talk, but we just celebrated last year our 10-year anniversary, so it's been a long journey, and again, just want to thank everyone that we've worked with over the years, and want to thank all of you for coming to hear about it, and I think I have 5 minutes approximately for questions.
Yeah,
so.
Thanks a lot for your insights and your success stories.
Thank you, thank you.
One question already.
Well, thank you. So how I get it is that there's someone having an interest and having some funding going to you, and then you make the connection to the open source project and audit researchers. Is there also a way where, like, you have collected some funding yourself, so a project can go to you and say, we would like to have a security audit, can you help us? Is it also possible?
Yes, yeah, so there's a lot that we do beyond kind of how it kind of looks on the surface, but yes, we have, unfortunately, we don't have really our own discretionary fund yet. It's something that I've dreamed of, and I think hopefully one day we will get to a place where we will have our own discretionary fund to be able to apply to projects who come to us. But what we've done in the meantime is we've helped a lot of projects with the fundraising as well. So we've done a lot of advocacy, for example, for certain projects to get funding if they're, let's say, in the running for getting funding, as well as going to our funding partners to try and source funding for projects. But yeah, there's definitely a lot that goes into it. It's not just taking money from a funder and giving it to an audit firm. There's so much that goes into it. And yes, I would love to get us to a place where we have a discretionary fund. But as of now, we just help with advocacy and fundraising.
When you're saying you have an interest, like not only to report problems but also to fix them, is there a way, like in the funding, that you can like pay the maintainer or one developer to say, okay, if you fix a problem, we can get you a part of the funding for fixing that problem? Has that happened? Is it possible?
It is something that we have done, yes. We've advocated a lot for setting some funding aside as either remunerations or some kind of payment to thank maintainers for their time and taking time to make fixes. It's not always the top priority of funders because they are very kind of bottom line driven, and that's more an afterthought. But we have advocated for some of our programs to set some funding aside to give to the maintainer or maintainers to actually make fixes. Yes, but a lot of our process includes providing very in-depth proofs of concept and insight onto what the vulnerabilities are to make the fixes much easier.
Okay.
Wonderful. We've got time for one more question.
So surprisingly, the topic didn't come up yet, but I guess that everybody's talking about generative AI.
Yeah.
So, from your experience and also your futurism here, so what is the current state with AI? Like, are we seeing more vulnerabilities coming up because people are contributing code generated with AI without enough quality? And are we already using tools to try to detect and come up with solutions for security vulnerabilities? And moving forward, how do you see the balance between like all these contributions generated with AI, maybe exhausting maintainers versus using the tool to try to mitigate all the things?
Yeah, excellent question. And yes, I'm also surprised it didn't come up sooner. But based on my experience, I've seen this really work good. I've seen both sides, where the bad or the not so great stuff that I've seen is that, yes, in fact, people are using AI tools to generate bug reports and or even the AIs themselves are just generating bug reports and really flooding already stretched thin maintainers with, from what I've heard direct firsthand from maintainers, it's almost all just crap and not really anything helpful. So I've seen some of the bad sides of it. I have seen some of the more promising sides of it in that some of the audit teams that we work with are really involved in developing tools to augment their audit work, and because they understand the tools that they're using a little bit maybe better than let's say average security researcher or just average person, they're really actually using those tools to do a lot more. And they're able to actually dig deeper and kind of chase down more leads with the help of these AI tools. So I can see it going both ways, or I've seen it kind of have good and bad. And I think maybe for the future, hopefully it will be more meritocratic, where the individuals, organizations, what have you, that are actually using AI to do good work and produce better outcomes for maintainers and projects will hopefully rise to the top, and the ones that are, again, just kind of flooding projects with slop will be kind of pushed out and not incentivized to keep doing that. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that'll change over the next few years as they get better, as the AI and the LLMs get better at kind of augmenting some of the work. But I think I'm always going to be advocate for at least having some human interaction in the loop, because without that, I mean, it's just very important. So I'll be around all day today and tomorrow. So if anyone would like to discuss, please let me know. And then also please check out our website, ostif.org, if you'd like to contact us or get in touch. So thank you all again. Have a great day.